Good evening, everyone. Officially, I am Mindy Perlmutter. I am the Executive Director of the Jewish Community Relations Council of Long Island. And on behalf of our advisory board and staff, it is a pleasure to welcome you for this evening's Yom HaShoah commemoration, which is an annual day of recalling the horrors of the Holocaust. While I wish, and we were just saying this just as everyone was coming on, that we really could all be in person, because obviously such a touching program. It's lovely when we can all be together. I am still thrilled, though, that we still can be in some way together virtually. So I'm so glad to see all of you in my little boxes, and I'm looking forward to congratulating you as this evening goes on. A little about JCRC just before we begin. JCRC Long Island is the representative body of the Long Island Jewish community. We are about building bridges, connecting communities, and meeting challenges. We inform and mobilize the Long Island community to take action locally, nationally, and internationally to address community relation issues important to both the Jewish and the non-Jewish communities. With this in mind, we put this program together this evening. I do want to say, because I don't want to take too much time about JCRC, but if you are interested in learning more about us, or even more, maybe more importantly, if you're interested in making a gift in honor of one of our fabulous honorees for this evening, please visit our website at JCRCLI.org, and we would look forward to getting to know you better that way as well. So tonight, we are proud to recognize a diverse group of students across Long Island who represent the bridges that we have built within the many communities living in Nassau and Suffolk counties. We are also honored to recognize and honor a wonderful friend of JCRCLI tonight, and that's Avi Posnick, who you'll hear a little more from later. This program is presented in partnership with the New York State Senate and Assembly delegations representing Long Island. This is an inspiring example of what we can do when we collaborate with our elected officials. We will hear from some of these representatives a little later in our program. We thank them for taking the time to be here with us this evening to mark this important day and recognize our honored guests. While I appreciate all of JCRC's programs, this one is especially meaningful and important. I am sure many of you are aware of recent studies that state more than half of our population have little to no knowledge of the Holocaust. Many individuals can't even name a single concentration camp, and they're unaware of the number of people who were murdered during this time. However, the majority of Americans believe that it's important to educate ourselves about the Holocaust. That is why it is so important to properly teach the Holocaust in our classrooms and continue to do programs such as these. Therefore, when we utter the words, never forget and never again, it's truly understood. Someone who definitely understands these words is our keynote speaker for this evening. It gives me great pleasure to introduce a friend of mine and someone who I'm sure you will all be very taken with, Mr. Leo Ullman. And Leo, if I may, I'd like to give them a little background of you before you start speaking, because it's just so impressive. Leo was born in Amsterdam, the Netherlands in 1939 and survived World War II as a hidden child placed by the resistance with a Christian policeman and his family, while his parents went separately into hiding in an attic on a main street of occupied Amsterdam. They all survived, which by the way is remarkable in itself, as chronicled in his book, 796 Days, and a recent Telly Award film, There Were Good People Doing Extraordinary Deeds, the Leo Ullman story. He came to the United States, arriving in Port Washington with his family in December of 1947. He subsequently, and let's listen to this very carefully because I think you'll all be impressed with this, I know I am. He graduated from Phillips Academy, Andover, Massachusetts, Harvard College with a BA in 3.5 years, Columbia University Grad School with a JD and an MBA in 3 years. And he also served our country in the US Marine Corps and the Corps Reserve from 59 to 65. Leo, a member of the New York Bar, practiced law for more than 30 years. He started with the New York law firm, Sullivan and Cromwell, and subsequently found his own firm. He served as a Deputy Assistant Chief Counsel of the U.S. Foreign Direct Investment for a period of a year and a half, and authored a number of articles, monographs, and book, and a loose leaf service on foreign investment in the United States real estate. While still practicing law, he established a real estate company, which he took to New York Stock Exchange as a real estate investment trust in 2003. In this connection, he was named Ernst & Young's Entrepreneur of the Year in the financial service area, and subsequently served as the national judge for that competition. He currently heads a private real estate company. Leo served as the director of the Anne Frank Center USA for 2 decades and is the chairman for 7 years. He presently serves as chairman of the Foundation for the Jewish Historical Museum in Amsterdam and the Netherlands National Holocaust Museum. He and his wife, Kay, have co-sponsored the exhibit State of Deception, The Power of Nazi Propaganda at the United States National Holocaust Museum in DC, and he has served as a member of its development committee. Kay and Leo also have founded the creation of the Schimmel and Hugenboom Righteous Remembrance Room at Stockton University's Holocaust Resource Center to honor the person who saved his life and those of many others in his family. Leo has lectured at many schools, universities, libraries, and religious institutions, and has sponsored a lecture series at Phillips Academy. Leo met Kay, whose family hails from South Georgia and traces its roots back to Jamestown and the Mayflower in 7th grade in Port Washington, New York. They married while in college, and not long ago celebrated their 60th wedding anniversary. So a mazel tov on that. They have 4 children and 9 grandchildren. It gives my pleasure to now introduce to you, Leo Willman.
Wow, Mindy, that took away most of my speech, but never mind. My story starts in 1932. It was the year my father graduated from high school in Germany, in Cologne, Germany. He did not see a future in Germany. He came to Holland and got a job at the largest Dutch department store, the Bijenkorf, the Beehive, and there he met my mother. My mother at the time was in her first year at the University of Amsterdam. She was actually engaged to another man, but she came from a well-to-do family. Her family was engaged in the diamond cutting business, and the diamond cutting business was terribly important in Holland. At that time, in 1932, there were approximately 145,000 Jewish persons in Holland in a population of perhaps 9 million people. Of those 145,000 Jewish persons, 85,000 lived in Amsterdam. And of those 85,000, 25,000 were engaged in the diamond business. The diamond business was therefore very important. My parents married in 1936. My mother had lived in a very attractive major house right near the Rijksmuseum in Holland. They had maids, they had servants, they had chauffeurs, they had beautiful cars. She was fully assimilated into Dutch society, and she was a member of the Arctos sorority. A sorority in Holland at that time was much different from a sorority in a US college in that it's a lifetime commitment, and these are your friends forever. And they played a very important role in saving my life and that of my parents. At any rate, in 1936, after they were married, my father was sent to the US to learn about retailing in the US. He took time to learn at Macy's, Gimbel's, Wanamaker's, all sorts of US stores. And in 1939, while they were still in the US, my mother became pregnant with me, and war broke out in the eastern part of Europe when Hitler took over the Czech Republic, what is now the Czech Republic, and Austria. At that time, my parents decided that they would go back to Holland and to have me be born there and to raise their family there. Hitler had promised in 1939 that he would not attack Holland, and that accordingly, everybody in Holland thought that even if Hitler opened up a front of a war in the western part of Europe, that we would be saved in Holland because Holland was neutral in World War I, and they thought, as Hitler had promised, that they would be neutral if anything happened in the western part of Europe. Notwithstanding that, on May 10th, 1940, the Germans bombed the city of Rotterdam, which was then and now one of the most important ports in the world. They bombed it to smithereens, killed some 20,000 people. And within 2 days, they forced the Dutch government to capitulate, and the Dutch Queen, with her cabinet, in a destroyer from England, went to London and created a government in exile. During those first couple of days, people were able to escape. Other people in my family, aunts and uncles, were able to go to fishing ports, and with coins and gold, they were able to buy passage to go to England, and hopefully from England to America or Canada. We went to one of those fishing ports with my grandmother and my parents and myself. I, at the time, was only a year and a half old or so, or a year old. And it was utter chaos at the fishing ports. Rumored boats that would take everybody to England were not there. It was complete chaos. I had an earache, my grandmother had a toothache, or vice versa. And we decided to go back to our apartment in Holland, in Amsterdam, and we would escape on another day. Well, sure enough, within the next couple of days, the Germans closed the borders and we could not escape. So we stayed in our apartment, and at that point, shortly after the beginning of the occupation of Holland, Hitler appointed Seyss-Inquart as a governor of Holland. He had been the governor of Austria, who invited Hitler to come in and take over Austria. He was a roaring Semite, and as soon as he took over, our lives started becoming much worse. Holland, unlike Belgium, France, and other countries, was run by a civil governor rather than a military government. And this government and this person were evil and brutal beyond belief. So at first, there were a number of decrees directed purely at the Jewish people. The first thing was that everybody had to move, all the Jews had to move to Amsterdam. So suddenly in our apartment, we had grandparents, a great-grandmother, an aunt and uncle living in our apartment. But we sort of got along, and then some more decrees came. All the Jews had to provide lists of everything they owned, anything of value, up to and including their gold teeth. They then got got ID cards with the letter J on it. And every Jewish woman had to have a middle name of Rachel, and every man had to have a middle name of Simon. But we still got along, and further decrees started coming. We were not allowed to go to public schools. We were not allowed to shop in regular stores. We were not allowed in the parks. We were not allowed in restaurants. We could not own anything that could transport us. No bicycles, no motorcycles, no cars. We were not allowed to use public transportation. We all, after age of 6, had to wear Jewish stars, which had to be sewn on your clothes. And anyone who was nice to the Jewish people would run the risk of imprisonment or even execution. Notwithstanding that, we were alive. But things became more and more difficult. And at some point, starting in middle of 1942, people were being transported to work camps, they called it, in Germany. They were not killing camps at the outset. These were work camps. And my father received a notice on the same day as Margot Frank, saying that he had to report for being shipped off by train to Germany to work in work camps. My father and mother were healthy. They bought the boots and heavy clothing that were required. And my father went to the train station and he saw that not just healthy people were being shipped off, but invalids, elderly, children, babies, were all being pushed into cattle cars, and the doors locked, and they were shipped off to so-called work camps. At that point, my father made the initial decision that he was not going to go into hiding. I'm sorry, that he was not going to go be transported into Germany, and that ultimately they probably had to go into hiding. In the meantime, there was a strike in Amsterdam, and it spread to the whole country. It was the strike started by the Socialist Communist Dock Workers Union in support of the Jews. It was the only strike anywhere in Europe ever in support of the Jews. And the Nazis reacted viciously. They took 450 leaders of the unions and executed them. That set the tone for what was going to happen. In the meantime, my mother's sister, whose husband was involved in the resistance, was picked up and first sent to jail. My grandmother, with diamonds, was able to keep her in Holland for a while, but soon she was sent to a concentration camp in Germany together with her 3 children. At that point, my parents made the absolute decision that they had to go into hiding. That was a very difficult decision. As I mentioned, my mother lived very well. They together had a wonderful life. They had lots of friends. They were fully assimilated. And all of a sudden, they had to make this decision to go, as we call it, underground and live like rats, as my mother called it. Also, they had to decide what to do with their son, this cute little kid who was so rambunctious. They couldn't possibly take him into hiding. I was free, about 3.5 at that point. It was roughly the 1st of March of 1943. And at that point, they did go into hiding. But before they went into hiding, and I have to explain that a little further, but before they went into hiding, my father decided that he needed money badly because they had to pay for their hiding place. My parents hid in an apartment it wasn't an apartment, it was in the attic on the main street of Amsterdam, one of the main streets of Amsterdam, where they had no light, no electricity, no heat, and 1 window. And they had to pay for that hiding place to some people that my mother knew from her social work. It was a man who was incapacitated with his wife, and they had 2 teenage daughters who my parents ultimately came to love, but they were always afraid that they would be betrayed purposely or unpurposely by their daughters who consorted with German soldiers in exchange for chewing gum and candy and whatever, maybe even cigarettes. At any rate, they made that decision, but before they went into hiding, as I mentioned, my father needed money because he had to pay for that and presumably would have to pay for food. So he went to a Persian rug dealer that he knew from his days in the bank or the large department store. Of course, he had lost his job. All Jews lost their jobs. But he did know this rug dealer, and he went to the rug dealer and he asked whether he could have some rugs on consignment, meaning that he didn't have to pay for them until and unless he sold them. And during a period of a couple of months, he was able to sell a lot, often to German police or civil servants who were taking over houses that belonged to Dutch Jews. And he was able to raise quite a bit of money. And at a given moment, they absolutely had to go into hiding. And he went to the rug dealer and he gave him back the rugs that he had not sold. And at that point, the rug dealer said to him, I know that you're an infidel, and nevertheless, take this Persian prayer rug, which I have saved, and my parents saved all these years. I don't know if you can really see it, and I just lost my earplugs. I'm just showing you the Persian prayer rug. If I move away a little bit, you can see it. At any rate, you'll have to take my word. It's in very good shape. They took that rug, and the rug dealer said to him, take this rug with you into hiding, and Allah will save you. And they did survive, so maybe Allah, in fact, did save them. It was a very meaningful thing for us to have that rug. My parents had it on their piano their whole lives. And my wife Kay and I have it on our piano, and hopefully we'll have it for the rest of our lives. At any rate, in the meantime, they had to get rid of their little son. And through a sorority sister who was active in the resistance, and through a contact that she had with a minister in Harlem, the city of Harlem, I was placed with a young man and his wife in a suburb of Amsterdam. Shortly thereafter, this man and his wife had marital difficulties, and they gave me back to the resistance, and I was placed in an orphanage north of Amsterdam. At that point, the father of this young man decided that he sort of liked me. He got a pass because he was a former policeman to go through the German line to the north of Amsterdam, take me out of this orphanage, and bring me back to his apartment in Amsterdam. My parents didn't know where I was. Only the sorority sister and the resistance knew where I was, and some other people in the resistance. The people with whom I was placed. The father, Opa, I called him, and Oma, Schimmel, which is the Dutch word for both a white horse and mold. Opa and Oma Schimmel took care of me, and I wound up ultimately staying with them for what we called 970 or 67 days. They not only didn't know who I was, but they did know that I was Jewish, of course, and they didn't know where I was from or whatever. They dyed my hair blonde, and after a very short period, they kept me in their apartment for the entire war. I didn't knowingly suffer. I shared a room with their adopted daughter, who was 14 years older than I. I teased her mercilessly. I even suggested to my war parents at one point that maybe we should get rid of Tilly, was her name, because then we would have more food. Food was hard to come by, and especially for my parents, who really suffered. I didn't knowingly suffer. I didn't know there was a war going on. I knew we had to pull the curtains closed at night so that we wouldn't be seen by Allied or other forces. At any rate, I ate sugar beets and tulip bulbs, and they tasted fine to me, but the Dutch people really resented that. There was no food. My parents really suffered. Not only did they not have food, but they never got out, except my mother got out a couple of times when the risks were so great that she nevertheless was willing to run those risks, go to a dentist in an area that she knew there would be dentists. She had toothache that she couldn't live with. And she knocked on the door of a dentist she didn't know and asked him to drill or whatever it took to get rid of the pain, which he did. But at that time, there was no electricity in Amsterdam. So the dentist's wife had to pump on a gadget like the old sewing machines to make the drill work. And he stitched her up, and she snuck back to her apartment at dusk. And she came back 2 days later. Not only did he take out the stitches, but he gave her a loaf of bread. And the loaf of bread was worth anything in Holland at that time. So under those circumstances, somehow my parents survived, and I survived. And on May 5th, 1945, Amsterdam was liberated. So we celebrate today in Holland the liberation of Holland. It's Cinco de Mayo, but it is also Liberation Day in Holland. And it's very meaningful. Amsterdam was liberated by the Canadian Maple Leaf Brigade. And there's always been a very soft spot for Canadians in Amsterdam for that reason, but also because the Queen's family, other than the Queen herself, spent the war years in Canada. At any rate, when Holland was liberated, everybody came out on the streets, joyful, screaming, yelling, kissing, hugging, and everybody wore orange. And I would normally ask the question, why orange? And the answer is, and if you've seen Dutch teams in the Olympics or otherwise, they always wear orange to honor the House of Orange, which is the royal family. Not that the Queen at that time had been very good to the Jews, because she had not, but now again, the House of Orange is greatly beloved, and the current king has been very, very responsive to the Jews in the history of the Holocaust. At any rate, at a given moment, my real parents came, they learned where I was, again, through Arctos, the sorority, and the resistance, and they came to get me. My war mother knew that the day would come, and they rang the bell. These people looked horrendous. They were down to probably 60, 70 pounds. My father had feet that were enormous balloons. because he had not walked and had not gotten out during that entire period. And these awful looking people came to the door and said they were my parents. I didn't know them. I'd been in hiding for almost 3 years with these war parents. They were my parents as far as I knew. I loved them, they loved me. And all of a sudden, these strange people wanted to take me away and say they were my real parents. It was sort of difficult. And my parents, who suffered so much from not having any food, had saved for me under the floorboards of their hiding place a can of baked beans. And they took me to their hiding place and they opened this can of beans with great ceremony. And my reaction was, "Blah, I can't stand beans." So these poor people suffered abject, complete starvation with a can of beans there, but they saved it for me and I wouldn't eat it. At any rate, they ate it with great relish. And so slowly I was weaned away from my war parents. In the meantime, there was a reception at the apartment where I was hidden, and everybody on the block was there. My war parents always thought that nobody knew that they were hiding a Jewish kid. In fact, everybody on the block knew, and no one betrayed us. And that's amazing because large bounties were paid by the Nazis to betray hidden Jews. At any rate, we went to, ultimately, we got our own house. We had a car. My war parents gave to me their dog, which was very meaningful because that was the real tie. And they stayed in my life. My war father took me to school every day once we went back to school. I had an eye operation right after the war. He was there every day. I stayed close to them until my war father died in 1951, and my war mother died in 1980s, and I was there at her deathbed. I should say that in 1947, that's 2 years after the war, my parents decided that they would leave Holland, even though my father had gotten his job back, they got some money, and they had a house, they had a car, but all their friends had been killed or left. The Dutch economy was in terrible shape, so they decided they'd create a new life in America. My grandmother from the diamond business had some money in America before the war. She was able to go to the US in 1946, a year before we came. She bought a house for us in Port Washington. We came there and basically have been tied to Port Washington ever since. I went to school there. We live there now. 2 of my kids lived there and a third did live there. We have a grandson that's a senior at the high school in Port Washington. He's the youngest of 7 grandchildren until my son decided he would have 2 children without a spouse or a partner. And so we have 2 little girls as grandchildren. We have made a wonderful life in the US. And as you heard, we've tried to contribute back to society. I think I'll end it there. I'd love to take some questions later, Mindy, if that would be permitted, but I'll end it there if that's okay.
That's quite okay. And I think that I can probably speak for everyone when I just say thank you, Leo, so very much for sharing your story this evening with us. And I really do believe you probably inspired all of us. I know this wasn't the first time I've heard your story, obviously, but every time I hear it, I always learn, I think, something new or different. And it's just, you really do. You are You are a very special person, and the fact that you shared your story and you are sharing your story with so many is just really fabulous. So thank you so very much for you being here this evening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Additionally, I once again just want to make sure I do let everybody know and appreciate our government officials who are with us, who, as I said, you will be hearing with us, who you'll be hearing from shortly. This evening, however, would not have come together without two very special people who I am very lucky to have as my colleagues. So a special thank you to Robin Berman and Tara Eisler for all that you do. You really both work so hard, especially to make sure that this program comes together to be the success that I always think it is. So thank you both very much for your hard work. It's now my pleasure to introduce another very good friend of JCRCLI, Rabbi Dave Siegel. Rabbi Siegel is the executive director at HaShoah University's Hillel. He is also what I consider a community leader in the truest sense of the word. So please welcome the rabbi, and if you would please say a few words to our group.
Tonight, we honor and remember those individuals whose lives were stolen from us during the Holocaust. And thank you so much, Leo, for sharing your story. As you said, these were mothers, fathers, siblings, spouses, and friends who never had the opportunity to live their lives, to reach their full potential. Behind me are 6 candles to represent the 6 million members of the Jewish community murdered by the Nazis. On Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day, it is traditional to read a special version of the Al Malei Rachamim, the prayer for the departed. The following is an English version. Al Malei Rachamim, exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the souls of our brethren who perished in the Shoah, the Holocaust. Men, women, and children who were senselessly murdered, may their memory endure and inspire deeds of charity and goodness in our lives. May their souls thus be bound up in the bond of life. May they rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. In his prayer for Yom HaShoah, Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs reminds us that although we do not have the ability to change the past, we can change the future. And although we cannot bring the dead back to life, we can ensure their memories live on and that their deaths are not in vain. We commit ourselves to one simple act, Yizkor, to remember. Thank you.
I want to, just for those who we saw just now, Rabbi Siegel light 6 candles. Obviously, what we do for that is 1 for each million of the 6 million Jews who perished during the Holocaust. I want to share with you for a moment some dates on the calendar. For those of you who are keeping accurate records, Holocaust Remembrance Day was actually last week. However, I think we can all agree that this is not something we should just remember once a year. Additionally, this week we observed 2 special days in Israel, Israel's Memorial Day and Israel's Independence Day. Israel went from a day of mourning to a day of celebrating. To some degree, I feel this mirrors us here today. First was the remembering of the horrors of the Holocaust and seeing what happens when evil reigns. The second is the second is looks at what we happen when good takes over, when we see our communities thriving. For that to happen, we need some special people who take a stand in their community. Today, all we need to do is look at this evening's honorees, and we see such people. So let's start with our honoring. Last year, JCRC Long Island initiated the Rabs Award, named for our friend, Rabbi Meir Middleman. affectionately known as Rabs, shortly after his passing. It is my pleasure now to reintroduce, although you just saw him just a few seconds ago, to you the first winner of the Rabs Award, Rabs' colleague and friend, Rabbi Dave Siegel, who will say a few words about Rabs. So Dave, if you would just tell us a little about what made Rabs so special.
It would be my pleasure. Thank you so much. It's always good when I can play two roles, huh?
I love it.
It's hard to believe that it's been a little over a year since we lost our friend and teacher, Rabbi Meir Middleman. For over 40 years, Rabs, as he was affectionately known, served Hillel, Hofstra University, and the Long Island Jewish community. Last year, I explained that you didn't know Meir, you experienced him. And even in his passing, he doesn't just inspire us with his teaching and stories, but with his general love for life and for all people. Every interaction was special to him. When he asked you how you were doing, it's because he really wanted to know. He wanted to hear about your life and be a part of it. He cherished those conversations and recognized each interaction as an opportunity to get to know each other in a meaningful way. Meir was truly an example for all of us on how the actions of one person can make a difference. He loved participating in this event every year, and he'd have such nachas, such pride hearing about tonight's honorees. So thank you for sharing your inspirational work, and thank you for everything you're doing. And thank you again, Leo, for sharing your story with us. More than ever, people need to hear it. People need to remember. People need to learn. And of course, thank you to JCRC Long Island and our representatives for everything you do for our communities. Avi, Mazel Tov on this honor. It has been such a pleasure working with you over the years, and I cannot think of a more fitting recipient for the Rabs Award. Your work is truly a continuation of his legacy, and I'm confident that he's watching us tonight, potentially even on Zoom, with a big smile. So Mazel Tov.
Thank you, Dave. Last year, when Rabs passed away, the world did become dimmer. However, JCRCLI decided that we wanted to bring back some of his light. And that's why, in his memory, every year with this program, we will pick a professional who we believe personifies the attributes that Rabs held so dear. This year, we are delighted to present this award to a truly outstanding individual. Someone who works extremely hard for the betterment of the Jewish community and the community at large. Someone who cares passionately about his family and friends, especially his wife and 5 children. Someone who for the last couple of decades has been building coalitions, educating and empowering groups and individuals to fight anti-Semitism and all forms of hate. A true mensch, a good friend, a respected colleague, and the king of one-liners. It is with great pleasure that we bestow this recognition on the Regional Director of Stand With Us Northeast, Mr. Avi Posner. And Avi, while we can't give you this through the computer, I know I'm seeing you in a few days, so I want to present you with this award.
Thank you.
It does say Avi Posner on it, JCRCLI Rabs Award, May 5th, 2022. And I also have several proclamations for you. The various government officials, and some of whom we will be hearing with in just a few minutes. But before we do that, Avi, I really just want to say Mazel Tov. Thank you for all you do. And I'd like to give you a few moments for you to say a few words as well, please.
Well, thank you, Mindy. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I want to thank my true colleagues and friends. Mindy Perlmutter, the Executive Director of the JCRC of Long Island, and Rabbi Dave Siegel, the Executive Director of the HaShoah Hillel, for choosing me to receive this prestigious award. I'm truly honored and humbled, and thank you both for your kind words and what you said. While I've unfortunately not had the privilege of meeting Rabbi Middleman, aka Rabs, the fact that an award was named for him speaks volumes about the kind of person he was. He was kind, compassionate, and someone who was always looking to make the community better. He was someone who clearly left an everlasting impact on all who knew him, and someone who we should all strive to emulate. I'm also thrilled to see so many students being recognized tonight for the impact that they're making on their communities. They are the future Rabses and leaders of tomorrow. To all the students here tonight, thank you for helping to make the world a better place. Growing up, my mother used to always say, you cannot live life for yourself. And when you have the ability to give back and help others, you have to give back. Besides for being a teacher in the New York public and private school systems for almost 3 decades before retiring, she was also a pregnancy loss counselor after losing 2 babies herself. She turned the painful experiences into an opportunity to help others who have gone through a similar situation and was able to help over 400 women. She had the opportunity to give back, and she did. This is part of the reason as to why I work for Stand With Us as the Northeast Regional Director and have been involved in a number of other initiatives to help the Jewish community and beyond. Thankfully, I have this incredible opportunity to give back. That is exactly what the students here tonight are doing. That is exactly what the JCRC and HaShoah do on a daily basis, and that's exactly what Rabs did throughout his life. As we commemorate Yom HaShoah, let's take this time going forward to double our efforts to educate the world about the Holocaust and learn its lessons, not just about what anti-Semitism looked like in 1942, but what it looks like today in 2022. Let us empower our students and communities to stand with Israel and fight anti-Semitism and hate. Let's learn from Rabs and educate, inspire, and empower the next generation of leaders. So thank you again to JCRC Long Island, to HaShoah for this prestigious award, and really for the amazing work that you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Avi. And once again, Mazel Tov. As mentioned earlier, this event is being co-sponsored by our New York State Senate and Assembly. And we do have some members with us tonight who would like to say a few words to all of you. And I want to thank these senators and assembly for the citations that I know that was sent to our students' schools for these students who are being honored. So all of your schools, if you do not have them yet, they should have your awards for you. So or your proclamations for you. So please make sure you do get them from your schools. So to start off, I am going to ask, I believe that Senator John Brooks is on the Zoom with us. So if he can unmute and say a few words to all of us.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. I want to thank JCRC-LI for organizing the program tonight. I think Leo, a wonderful but sad presentation. I know a little of my family's history, but not a lot, as I've been looking at certain areas. People in the Netherlands who were diamond cutters, so I just little interesting, but congratulations to everybody being honored this evening. I think one thing we should always remember that we can't change history, but we can learn from it. If we don't teach history accurately, we don't learn the lessons of the mistakes that are made. So I think it is critically important that we recognize our history. We honor the people that are making changes, the students that are being honored today. And I thank you for giving us the opportunity to participate in this program this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Brooks. And now if Senator Anna Kaplan can unmute and say a few words to us.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Anna Kaplan, New York State Senator for the 7th Senate District. I want to first thank JCRC Long Island for doing this program. I was actually there 3 years ago when I was first elected to office, when you had the event in person and participated and met a lot of the students at that time. What a wonderful program, and I'm so glad to see it keep going, and hopefully next year it will be in person again. I want to congratulate Mr. Avi Posnick on his Mazal Tov for being the wonderful honoree tonight. Rabbi Siegel, it's great to see you tonight and looking forward to seeing you again. And I also want to thank Leo. Leo is one of my constituents. I've had the honor of knowing him and his wife a little bit better since I've been in the office. They are both truly very, very special human beings, and they really do give back in so many different ways. And tonight, to hear his story again, it just does not get old. I encourage and urge everyone to tell their friends, watch him on the YouTube or buy his book and learn from his story. And yes, so this is partially sad, but it's also happy week for us. This year, on Monday, we passed a resolution, my resolution in New York State Senate, remembering Yom HaShoah, remembering the 6 million that were lost in Holocaust. And we all say, never again, never forget. And we can't make those just words. We need to take action and stand together, and each of us to do our part. I'm proud to say that I have a bill in the Senate. We're working very hard to get it across the finish line this year, working very hard with Assembly to make sure that we have meaningful Holocaust education in state of New York, a state that has been home to so many survivors. We want to make sure we do right by their memory and their story, and that we teach those stories and history to generations to come. Because it's true, if we don't learn from our history, we're doomed to repeat it again. But I'm also happy to say, yesterday I had a resolution on New York State Senate floor where we celebrated Israel Independence Day. And we had the ambassador Asaf Zamir there with his staff. And it was a wonderful event. And I was able to share it with all of my colleagues in New York State Senate. So with that said, thank you for hosting this event. Thank you for doing this event, JCRC. And thank you for your partnership. And we should always work together to make sure all of our histories are being taught in a meaningful way to our children and generations to come. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Senator Kaplan. And now if Senator Mario Matera can unmute and say a few words to us.
Yes, and Mindy, you are a very passionate woman. I listen to you and I'm like, the passion just comes out. And, Leo, I just want to say, last year I was on also listening to the story, and it's heartfelt to me because, without our families, we have nothing. And, your story about your family and sticking together and for survival. And I just, when you watch, like when I watch, programs like Schindler's List, I don't know if it's, all true. A lot of people tell me it is and how it would happen. And I watch it and I watch it and watch it over and over again because it's heartfelt to me, what happened. And you know what? Then I look what's happening in Ukraine. And I thought that we would never see this in our lifetime, that things that are happening. And it's upsetting to all of us, and it should not be happening. And we talk about, history. Yes, history is so important, but I did not want history to repeat itself like what's happening. And I'm praying. We're praying for everybody that's over in Ukraine. But I just want to congratulate also Abby for the second annual JCRC Long Island Rabs Award. Congratulations. I want to congratulate all of the 63, am I saying it right, 63 students? Okay, I'm saying it right. Okay, good. I want to make sure I'm counting properly. But, to see, to make sure that we're teaching, certain things in school, and history is so important. Again, like I'm going to say it, we don't want history to repeat itself in a lot of ways, and not like this, what happened with the Holocaust. But you know what, me growing up, in a neighborhood of Smithtown, Italian and Jewish community. And I always thought I was going to marry a Jewish girl. I'm going to be honest with you. I actually dated, and it's amazing, like with the Italians and the Jews, they're very, very close in a lot of ways. And I was very, very proud to grow up in a community with a lot of friends. And I just want to say that, I will always be part of, the Holocaust Remembrance Day. I want to commend my colleague Kaplan for doing an amazing job on the floor in the Senate the other day with her resolution. Senator, it was heartfelt to me again, listening to you. And I just want to say thank you for doing an amazing job and making sure that, in other words, we keep this in our hearts for all the 6 million plus people that we lost, and I'm sorry, for no reason at all. And so I just want to say thank you so much for having me here tonight. I always want to be a part of your lives. And again, God bless everybody here on this Zoom. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. And now if Senator Kevin Thomas is on, I believe, if he would unmute and say a few words to us.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I'm State Senator Kevin Thomas, representing parts of Nassau County like East Meadow, Garden City, Levittown. Thank you to the JCRC Long Island for hosting tonight's Holocaust Remembrance Day program and bringing people together as we pay tribute to the victims of the Holocaust and reflect as we listen to stories of tragedy and triumph. I want to thank Leo Willman for sharing his story of tragedy and then coming to America to achieve so much and give back to his community. The stories of these survivors and their protectors remind us to confront persecution wherever it arises, and that silence can be an accomplice to evil. They remind us of our duty to stand up to the rising tide of anti-Semitism, bigotry, and hatred that threaten the values we hold dear. As a public servant, I want to stand in solidarity. I will always stand in solidarity with the Jewish community today and every day. My colleagues in government who are with us tonight, and I will ensure never again isn't an empty slogan, but a call to action. Lastly, to all the student honorees tonight, remember to always stand up for the vulnerable and give back to the community. Congratulations to Avi Posnick for receiving the 2nd annual JCRC Long Island Rabs Award. Thank you for having me, and God bless.
Thank you very much, Senator. I know I saw her before, but I'm not seeing her right now, but is Assemblywoman Gina Saletti with us right now? If so, she can.
I'm here. Hi, Mindy. Hi, everybody. My name is Gina Saletti. I'm a member of the New York State Assembly for District 16. I have Great Neck, Manhasset, Port Washington, Herricks, and parts of Roslyn. Thank you so much, Mindy, JCRC, for organizing this program tonight. Events like this are really important. I'm always moved by Leo's story. Thank you so much for sharing you and your family's personal account. You know, Mr. Ullman is not only my neighbor in the next village over here in Port Washington, but we're also neighbors at work. His office is literally right across the hall from mine. I see him, at least once a week. Thank you, sir, for all you've done over the years. We're so blessed to have you and Kay as a part of our community and as a witness to where hatred and anti-Semitism can lead. And congratulations, Avi, on receiving the Rabs Award. It's so well-deserved. Your work with Stand With Us is so important. Thank you for your, much needed efforts. And congratulations to the students. You're all doing the essential work to ensure that the lessons of the Holocaust remain with us today and in the future. Thank you. So it was a privilege really to provide assembly citations acknowledging the achievements of everyone being honored tonight. And again, thank you so much, JCRC, for allowing me to say a few words, and thank you all.
As the Assemblywoman just said about the students and how wonderful they all are, I think it's time we get to the students. So I would now like to call on the incomparable Robin Berman to introduce the phenomenal students who are being honored this evening. Additionally, as you've all been using actually already, there is the chat link for the biographies that if you didn't see, please download them so you will get to see all about the students, not just the person maybe that you're here to see, but all the wonderful students that we have throughout Long Island who have done truly remarkable work. When I often read these biographies, I often say to myself, when I grow up, I want to be like these students, because they really are remarkable young people. They just are, and I congratulate all of them. I also want to say for all the teachers on this Zoom and all the parents on this Zoom, I congratulate all of you because we know they didn't just wake up one day to become this. They have a lot of mentors in their lives, and obviously their parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, teachers, they're all a part of that life. So congratulations to all of you as well. And now, Robin, I give you the floor or the Zoom.
Good evening, everybody. It is my pleasure to welcome you. I know we're getting towards the end of the program, but we always save the best for last. And I really appreciate you being here tonight. I want to say a few words and then we're going to get to the presentation. Just so you know, some of you may have already received, but all of the elected officials, the New York State senators and assembly members were invited to send certificates in your honor, and they were going to be mailed to your schools. So some of you may have received them already and some will be coming shortly. I also wanted to let you know that JCRC of Long Island will be mailing you as well a certificate. I don't know if it's a little blurry on the screen, but it's a certificate of this for the Students Building Bridges Award, and that will be mailed to your schools in the next week as well. And I will also say the biographies that are you're receiving electronically, we do have a print copy that's going to be sent out to all of the students. So you'll have that to look through as well. So I wanted to, again, thank and congratulate. It was mentioned before, we have 63 students being honored tonight from throughout Nassau and Suffolk counties. Those 63 students attend 33 schools, high schools on Long Island. And I really want to express my appreciation to all those that I've been communicating with these past few months, the teachers, the principals, the nominators, the guidance counselors, because again, we wouldn't be here tonight without your support. And we really appreciate you and love working with you each year on this program. And I want to thank the friends and family members who are joining as well. So I'm going to go through a presentation that shows photos because we're not in person, but we're going to recognize each student. I'm going to share my screen. And just so you know, we're going in order, for alphabetical order, first by the town where your high school is located, then high school, then student. So if you're kind of curious where you fall in this presentation, I just wanted to let you know that that's how it's organized. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. I have the privilege of congratulating from Baldwin High School, Isabel Eustache, Grace Nutter-Safano, and Derek Watts. So we'll give them all a round of applause. And next in Belmore, from John F. Kennedy High School, we have Nicole Giordano, Beverly Kleinman, and Rachel Oppenheim. Round of applause. From Mepham High School in Belmore, we have Allison Alvarez, Sahara Partop, and Morgan Schaefer. Congratulations. From Brentwood High School, we have Joshua Castellanos and Juan Carlos Delgado. Congratulations to you both. From Lutheran High School in Brookville, Devin Moore. Congratulations, Devin. From Carl Place High School, we have Shannon Wagner. Congratulations to you, Shannon. From Comac High School, Stephen Gahn. Congratulations, Stephen. From Copeg High School, we have Paris De Freitas, Adriana Jimenez Bonilla, and Devoni Roden. From Half Hollow Hills High School East, we have Javier Gujral. Congratulations. From Half Hollow Hills High School West, we have Emma Zaccoli. Congratulations to Emma. From East Meadow High School, Sarah Eisenberg and Corey Schwartz. Congratulations to you both. From East Rockaway High School, Michael Kilgus and Emily McLaughlin. Congratulations. From John Glenn High School in Elwood, Abigail Rothletter. Congratulations, Abigail. From Floral Park Memorial High School, Madison Lewis. From Great Neck North High School, Ariel Barron and Nabi Nabavian. Congratulations. From Harborfields High School in Green Lawn, Jacob Siegel, Marshall Singer, and Aaliyah Steinberg. Congratulations. From Hewlett High School, Mara Regal. Congratulations, Mara. From Huntington High School, Sophia Segal. Congratulations, Sophia. From Walt Whitman High School, Kira Conlin, Jordan Logue, and Anaya Nicholson. Congratulations. From MacArthur High School, Chelsea Coling, Scott Molina, and Aiden Prescott. Congratulations. From Locust Valley High School, Josephine DeBono, Tess Delaney, and Giovanna Villela. From Calhoun High School, Nicholas Mascari. Congratulations, Nicholas. From Mineola High School, Urja Patel and Julia Tharasi. Congratulations. From Herrick's High School, Jasmine Feng. Congratulations, Jasmine. From Plain Edge High School, Amanda Marinassi. Congratulations. From Oceanside High School, Carolina Rostiglione and Ariella Rucklin. Congratulations. From the Wheatley School, Lital Faranek, Kayla Kokora, and Haley Packin. Congratulations. From Plainview Old Bethpage JFK High School, Julia Powers. Congratulations, Julia. From Riverhead High School, Bianca Bryant, Tiffany Perez, and John Vasquez Ayala. Congratulations. From Roslyn High School, Samantha Schilling. Congratulations. From Smithtown High School East, Matthew Dowd, Aman Mistry, and Shira Patel. Congratulations. From Smithtown High School West, Maria Caputo, Jensen Herbst, and Stephen Hunt. Congratulations. And from St. John the Baptist High School, we have Ashley Blum. So that brings us to the end of our student honorees tonight. I want to congratulate you all. And as was said before, the work that you're doing to make the world a better place is really tremendous, and we really appreciate it. And your role models to the students that you surround yourself with. We wish you nothing but the best for your future. We look forward to seeing you doing more wonderful things as you grow and continue on your path of learning and through life. And we appreciate everything, and thank you for joining us tonight. I'll send it back to you, Mindy.
Thank you. And Robin, thank you so very much. And also, one more thank you that has to be also made that we haven't said yes to our tech virtuosa, Jennifer Glick, for making this evening run so smoothly on Zoom. I thank you so very much. This, I know we're on Zoom in virtual, not in person, but truthfully, I always say this has been a wonderful evening. I really appreciate all of you who are with us this evening. I thank you for attending. I want to once again congratulate all our award winners this evening and their families and friends. May you always continue to go from strength to strength. Good night, everyone.